Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. God bless us with good health, inshallah, to continue with our fast. Intentions was seeking knowledge and teaching. Start off with that, inshallah. I intend to seek knowledge and to teach to benefit myself and to benefit others, to remind myself and to remind others, to profit myself and to profit others, to urge adherence in the book of Allah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to invite to guidance and to guide that which is good, seeking the face of Allah, His pleasure, His gifts and rewards, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Continue on with the Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم نور بالقرآن بصري واشرح به صدري وأطلق به لساني واستعمل به بدني وقوي به جناني وأسرع به فهمي بحولك وقوتك فإنه لا حول ولا قوة إلا بك يا أرحم الراحمين والصلاة على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين بفضل سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الحمد لله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Alhamdulillah, we are at Surah Al-Ahqaf. We did verses 15 to 18 in the last lesson. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah has enjoined man to do good to his parents. His mother bore and delivered him in difficulty. We discussed why this was mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The bearing and the weaning of him was 30 months. And it is how much mothers look after their children. When he attains maturity and reaches 40 years, he says, "My Rabb, grant me that I may give thanks for your favor which you have bestowed on me and on my parents, and that I may do good which pleases you, and do good to me in respect of my offspring. Such surely I turn to you, and surely I am of those who submit." We did explain this and went through quite a bit about this dua, and this is a very important dua for all of us to actually recite. Rabbi auzi'ni an ashkura ni'mataka allati an'amta alayya wa ala walidayya wa an a'mala salihan tardahu wa aslih li fi dhurriyyati wa inni tubtu ilayka wa inni minal muslimin. Inshallah, recite this after every salat. Inshallah, we'll have pious offsprings, inshallah. One who scolds his parents and accuses them of threatening him resurrection, since those did never return. The parents called it. This is the story of one child who was angry with his parents. My statement is not very good here, and accused them of threatening him with resurrection, since those did never return. So he considers them as a threat because he does not see the dead as coming back. So the parents called for Allah's aid and felt sad for him. They asked him to believe as the promise of Allah is true. But he says that they are ancient stories. They are among jinn and men that will be punished. These are among jinn and men that will be punished. So those who deny resurrection, they will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the losers because they do not attain achievement in the next world. They are not blessed with Jannah, so they are losers because of their disbelief in the hereafter. All right, we continue. وَلِكُلٍّ دَرَجَاتٌ مِّمَّا عَمِلُوا and for. Wa is and li is for. Kullin, all. All right. And it's jar because of the li there. Darajat is degrees. All right. Mimma, what, of what they did. Mimma is of what they did. There's an of there. Of what they did. Amilu, they did. Past tense, fi'il madi there. Well, alif, we know is they. We've been going through grammar quite a bit, right? Alhamdulillah. Wali yuwaffiyahum. So you can see this li here. Somehow it's huruf jar, but this li is not huruf jar, it's huruf nasab because we have yuwaffiya. Yuwaffiyakum from the word wafa. Wafa or to, from the word awfu. Awfu means to fulfill. So that it will be fulfilled. He repaid them fully. He will be repaid them, and he repaid them fully. Whom is them there? Waliyuwaffiyakum, yuwaffiyahum them, a'malahum, their deeds. A'mal is plural of amal. So their deeds, so the deeds are being fulfilled. So deeds are in nasab here. Wahum, and they, la yudlamun, not they be wronged. Yudlamun is passive, not they be wrong. All right. And for all degrees according to what they did, and that he may pay them back fully their deeds, and they shall not be wrong. And for all our degrees according to what they did. All right, what does it mean? Walikulli, every single one. Darajatum mimma amilu, from whatever they do. The word kulli refers to both the groups mentioned earlier. Right, so the two groups that we mentioned were the one group, right, those who are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and at the age of 40, he understands the importance of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was grateful to Allah, and he was grateful for the ni'mat that Allah has blessed his parents. And also he understands the importance of doing actions that Allah will be pleased with, right? And also he wants his offsprings to have good, and he turned to Allah, the path of Allah, and he submits to Allah. So that's the first group that we mentioned. The next group is the group that denounces resurrection, very rude to their parents, and asked to believe, doesn't want to believe, and make fun of the stories as stories of old, which means they are mere legends. They are not true stories. So these two groups will be rewarded in accordance with their deeds. Of course, normally they don't use the word reward. They use the word recompense, because the reward usually have a good connotation to it. Those who recognize the rights of their parents, their Rabb, and also fulfilled them will be rewarded with their respective level in paradise. So you know, paradise has many, many levels, right? Those who led a life of indifference and apathy will be cast into that section of hell, which is commensurate with the evil deeds they committed. And Allah has mentioned some of the various punishments that are meted out in hellfire, and the hellfire would be suited to different kinds of sins, and there are different types of sins that people actually commit. The word darajat is mentioned by referring to the dominant element, it's sabil taghlib, that is the lowest level with in fact be no level. Okay, I'm not sure what this is. Sabil, path of taghlib, ghalaba. Ghalaba is which to be conquered. وَلِيُوَفِّيهُمْ أَعْمَالَهُمْ. So here they are given stations, they are given, degrees, right? Darajat is like those who are very good will get Firdaus, Jannatul Firdaus. In the Jannah, we've got a few Jannah, Jannatul Ma'wa, Jannatul Firdaus, Jannatul Adani, and a few of us. So we know about 7 Jannahs we are informed of, and hellfire, we've got 7 levels of hellfire also. And Allah says Allah will will fulfill them. I mean, will repay them fully, right? So you do good, you get full payment. You do bad, you get full recompense, right? You'll be repaid accordingly. And what is the most important is their deeds. A'malahum, their deeds. So degrees are the results of deeds. And since people are quite different in their deeds, their degrees are quite different. And so Allah is fair, and not everybody will be given the same kind of treatment, right? Those who work hard, as mentioned in Surah Waqi'ah, we have the sabiqun, ulaika al-muqarrabun, right? Fi jannatin na'im, sullatun min al-awwalin wa qalilun min al-akhirin. So these are the people who strive very hard. Unlike, I mean, they are normal Muslims. Some are not normal Muslims, but these are the special ones. And those who strive to get first class honors. Not easier to get first class honors. Of course, there are those who are specially chosen and are very smart. Right? Anyway, hard work is necessary. All right, so actions are important. All right, and as mentioned, there are different state levels. So as mentioned, in those who are muqarrabin, there are special rewards for them. Surah Waqi'ah attested to that. All right, and those who are normal Muslims, nominal Muslims, we just pray 5 times a day, and we do our good deeds. We have good akhlaq, inshallah, and yeah, we'll go into heaven, inshallah, by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not great a heaven. As they say, as long as you pass good enough, so as you enter heaven, good enough. I'm happy already, I can enter heaven. Different people have different ways of thinking, right? Of course, hellfire is the worst ones, so cruel to others, and these and that, all kinds of behaviors force people to denounce Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So get worse now. All right, each and every individual's degree is determined by his qualities and morals acquired by himself in this mundane life. So what is it that he strives for? What is it that he has? What does he go on doing in this world? Right, while you're alive, right? It depends on all boils down to your actions. Whether it is sincerely for Allah or not, or just for other reasons. The rewards and punishment will be at different levels according to the performance of people. So everyone is fully and justly compensated for their deeds. So that's fairness, right? Those who do lots will get better. Those who do lesser will not get as much as those who do a lot. وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ, and Allah reminds that they be wronged. Not wronged in the least. Allah do not wrong anyone. Anyone. And so there's emphasis, and they be wrong. So there's emphasis there because whom is an ism, starting a sentence, an ism emphasizes it, right? Allah will not be unjust to them even in the moment of a speck of a dust or less. Abdul Rahman bin Zaid bin Aslam said the levels of the fire descend and those of paradise ascend. So it goes lower and lower in the depths of the fire. And we are aware that, we have Sirat al-Mustaqim, which is a bridge, right? And this bridge is supposed to be distance, it's a great distance, and it has got nails on it, right? And the nails are so thin and as sharp as thin as his hair, very sharp, and but people who are good, they just skim through, they just pass through without even worrying. But those who are bad will be crawling and falling into the hellfire. Neither will the good deeds and sacrifices of the good people be lost, nor the evildoers awarded a greater punishment than what they will actually deserve. Very interesting. In the Quran, Allah did mention that the punishment of the evil act is just as it was done. But the reward of the good deed is multiplied many, many times out of the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we strive to continue with our good actions. We've got 6 more days of Ramadan. Next week is already 8. And, inshallah, we work hard these few days of Ramadan, right, to gain as much as possible. Inshallah, we are blessed with Laylatul Qadr and be rewarded with work with deeds of 1,000 months. Inshallah, that's about 83 years. Inshallah, and Allah will reward us accordingly for our hard work, and not only hard work, our trust and belief that Allah will reward us for that. Allah has said Allah will not cause to waste any action of his slaves. If a good man is deprived of his reward and receives a lesser reward than that what is actually his due, it is injustice. So there will not be any injustice at all to anyone, right? Likewise, if an evildoer is not punished appropriately for his evil deeds or receives a greater punishment than deserved, it is also injustice. So the evil ones, they get as much as they did. So this is why sometimes, people they do wonder, the worst of punishment, as it is said, is in the hellfire, is that a man wears slippers and then the brains will boil. The heat goes through the brain, goes through the body until the brain, it boils. It's like really, really severe. What action did I do that I would have to be punished in that manner? And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will be punished according to my actions. So what we can understand from that is that to deny obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a really, really, really great injustice to yourself and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a punishment. It's like that. We believe in the fairness of Allah. We believe in the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So believe that punishment, they deserve it because of what they did. Wayauma, and a day your aradu is exposed or is brought forth. Those alladhina kafaru, they disbelieved, ala nar, on the fire. Ala, on nar, fire is huruf jar there. Adhabtum, adhabtum. Adhabtum comes from dhahaba. Dhahaba is to go. But the translation says you exhausted. And we know this is fi'al madi because the tum comes at the end. And we know it is the tum is the actor. We have always understood that. Adhabatum. That means you have done away with. Right? That's that. It is you have exhausted. Tayyibatikum. Now tayyib is tayyibah is one. Tayyibat is many, and many, of course, tayyibat, good things. Right? So we are familiar with this word because in our tahiyya we say, right, tayyibatu lillah, tayyibat, good things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your good things, tayyibatikum fi hayatikumud dunya, fi in hayatikum, in your life, fi hayatikumud dunya, the world. Right, in your life of the world. You can say it's off there. No, because dunya, we can't, it is actually of structure, but in your life of the world. It's been off there. Because hayati is jar because of fi. Usually we will see hayatu dunya, right? And we know it is an off structure because dunya doesn't go into this kasra. It is fixed on the fathah there. Right, so in your life of the world, your kum here, all of you, was tamta'tum. All right, again, we can see this is fi'al madi and it's past, it's a tum at the end there. We know once you see tum, we know it's past tense, definitely. All right, now it says star structure, the root word is mata. Mata is to enjoy. To enjoy. Was tamta'tum, and you enjoyed by them, biha. Now the ha, some of them actually put it, but if you look at the sentence itself, it talks about the good things that you have. Tayyibat, right? You exhausted, or you do away with all the good things, right, in your life of this world, and then you enjoyed them, right? You use all of them to enjoy yourself. That's what it is. وَيَوْمَ يُعْرَضُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا عَلَى النَّارِ أَذْهَبْتُمْ طَيِّبَاتِكُمْ فِي حَيَاتِكُمُ الدُّنْيَا وَاسْتَمْتَعْتُمْ بِهَا فَالْيَوْمَ, then the day, the al is a day. فَالْيَوْمَ, then the day, tujzauna, from the word jaza is repaid. You will be repaid. The u and the a here tells us is passive. You will be repaid. Tujzauna adhabal huni, the punishment of humiliation. Adab is punishment. You see adab without a tanween, and huni is in kasra, right? So the al of the hun is humiliation. Al hina. There's a, if it's a hin, then it is there's the the throat, the hin, and then it's a time. But if it's a hun, there's this normal h, right? Then it is humiliating. Adab al-huni bima, because kuntum you were tastakbirun, right? Again, we know this is fi'l mudari, the ta there and the waw nun fi'l, and the rafa state root word is kabir, and then you have the ista, seeking greatness, seeking bigness. That's arrogant. Being arrogant. So I'm using the word being here to just to highlight that this is a fi'l, because if you put arrogant, then it becomes an ism. Fil ard, in the earth. بغير, without right, the right. بغير الحق, without the right. بغير huruf jar, haqi in jar state. Wabima, and because kuntum you were tafsuqun, fasiq. Fasiq is to disobey, and you were transgressing. So this is our continuous term, our continuous verb. You were transgressing, continuously transgressing at that time. فَالْيَوْمَ تُجْزَوْنَ عَذَابَ الْهُونِ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَكْبِرُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ وَبِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَفْسُقُونَ. So this haq is right at the throat there, haq. Same place where your ayn come from. And on the day when those who disbelieve shall be brought before the fire, you did away with your good things in your life. You see the word is used is did away. It means you exhausted, we saw that. In your life of the world, and you enjoyed them for a while, so it's a them here also we can see. So today you shall be rewarded with the punishment of abasement because you were unjustly proud in the land and because you transgressed. Right, وَيَوْمَ يُعْرَضُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا عَلَى النَّارِ, as we have seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights, right, brings about the scene of the next world. Now, this is to warn people so that if they heed the warning, they would be saved from the punishment of hell. A day, right, you would be brought, will be made clear, or rather is to present to you, will be brought forth to you, to those who alladhina kafaru, those they deny. You know, what is alanar is brought down to you, those brought down to those who disbelieved, alanar, on the fire. This puts forth the fate of the disbelievers as they face the reckoning on the day of resurrection, which they were denying. إِذْهَبْتُمْ طَيِّبَاتِكُمْ فِي حَيَاتِكُمُ الدُّنْيَا. You did away, you exhausted, you finished off all the good things in your life of the world. And you're given, sent to the world, and you're given lots of good things in life, but you just do away with it. That means you did not gain anything from the good things in life that Allah has blessed you in the life of the world. This is a fast-moving scene, yet it has a profound telling effect. The scene brings them before the fire, but just before they are driven into it, they are told the reasons which determine their fate. When these disbelievers are exposed to hellfire, it will be said unto them that the bounties granted to them in their mundane life, example, outward ones like health, property, and wealth, delicious food, and inward ones such as intellect, intelligence, bravery, were spent inappropriately rather than employing them for the attainment of felicity, virtue, and perfection. So this is what we have. We have these people. This is smooth. What is it? They are brought to hellfire. These people who disbelieved, right? Disbelieve. We can hear is disbelieve in the resurrection because it was mentioned that those people made fun of resurrection. Right? They were brought on the fire, right, towards the fire, and then they were told you have removed, you have done away with all the good things. You have used up all the good things. You have lived life, having so much good things. And what are the good things? Your health, your property, your wealth, your food that you have. This is outward and inward, intellect, intelligence, and bravery. Whatever characteristics Allah has for you, you did not use it in the best of ways. So you have done away with it. Fi hayatikum dunya, while you were living on earth, instead of attaining happiness, virtue, and perfection, you have lost it. Wastamta'tum biha, and you enjoy yourself with those that were, with them, the things that were given, the good things that were given to you. Instead of benefiting from them, well, you spend life just frivolously enjoying everything that you were given. You spend them on the pleasures of the flesh, and as a consequence of the ingratitude for such blessings, disobedience against divine command, you will pay for your ingratitude by suffering from a humiliating punishment. Jaza aw wifaqan, that means jaza is the recompense that will fall on you. They had their fair share of good things, but they used them all up in the life of this world, keeping nothing back for their future life. In fact, they did not reckon that there would even be a future life. Therefore, they enjoyed these good things to the full, showing no gratitude for them and expressing no thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what they were, right? They had so much to thank Allah for, but instead they were not thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They just while away their life, having fun, doing whatever they want to do, because they never seem to think that they don't believe that there is a next world. So there is no need to do things to gain and benefit in the next world. So that's what they were. And of course, in contrast to the believers who ask Allah to make it easy for them to give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And giving thanks is, of course, obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The commander of the faithful, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, gave up many of the joys of food and drink and refrained from them while saying, I'm afraid of being like those whom Allah has reproached and condemned by saying, Adhabtum tayyibatikum fi hayatikum ad-dunya wastamta'tum biha. Right. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu saw this verse, and he learned this verse, and he abided by the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It seems that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu take 10 years to memorize the Holy Quran, right? Not that he's not smart, they are all very good at memorizing, but then Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu make it a point to act on every single statement in the Quran. And when you come to such a state, this is of the teachings of the Sahabas, ulama, right? That when you come to such points, we ask Allah protect us from such a state where we are lost in this world. We use all the good things that Allah has blessed us with and not giving thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also just having fun all the time without thinking of the next source. And Umar radiallahu anhu was a very rich man, but he denied himself lots. We have seen the story of him, how he wear patched clothes and hardly eat much, and following the ways of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Mijlah said some people will lose good deeds that they had in the worldly life, and they will be told, Adhabtum tayyibatikum fi hayatikum dunya. So even if it's good deeds, because they don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it just remains as a deed. Most probably the chances are this sin is not acted on, the actions are not for the sake of Allah, not sincerely done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it is not rewarded. So that's considered as you have done away with all the good that you have given, right? And you have lost yourself. فَالْيَوْمَ تُجْزَوْنَ عَذَابَ الْهُونِ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَكْبِرُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. And the day you will be recompensed. A punishment that is humiliating, the punishment of the punishment of humiliation, because you were arrogant, you were being arrogant, right? In the earth, this is tastakbirun, continuously arrogant, in earth without any rights. Does anybody have any right to be arrogant? None of us have any right to be arrogant. Everyone who behaves with arrogance on earth does so without any rights. All pride belongs to Allah, none belongs to any creature, no matter what position he holds, no matter how rich, no matter how powerful, no matter who you are, right? They have no right to be arrogant. There's no right to be arrogant. To suffer humiliation is therefore a just recompense for arrogance. Because you're so arrogant, you are humiliated in the next world. Because normally we would see our arrogant people, they humiliate others, right? To push themselves up, to bring themselves up. And so they will be humiliated in the next world. The word بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ, which qualify the arrogance and haughtiness shown by them, expresses the fact that since Allah blesses them with all the favors, what right has a person to show such behavior after receiving them? Because it is not of his own making. Some people may say, oh, I am a self-made person. Right? I did this all by myself. Allah, that shows a person who lacks that understanding that blessings are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes this so-called blessings might actually be a curse because people tend to forget these blessings which come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and use it in ways that are contradictory to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So what is there to be arrogant about when everything is given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He is the one who is the source of all wealth, source of all states, source of everything is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is no one has any right to be arrogant. It is only befitting for a person to show pride when he himself is the originator of something and without any role played by Allah acquires something on the basis of his own personal ability. We have Qarun. We went through the story of Surah Al-Qasas before. He came out decked in his finery and everything is so rich and powerful. And when he was reminded to think, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was, according to some stories, he was one with knowledge. But he was consumed by his wealth and his position. And he said, I get all this by my knowledge. And that is arrogance, right? Not thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we know, Qarun was of the Bani Israel. That means he believed in God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? As all the Bani Israel people were supposed to be. But along the way, we saw the humiliation that they went through while they were in Egypt had caused some of them to actually submit to the cow, which was one of the gods worshipped by the Egyptians at that time. وَبِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَفْسُقُونَ, and because you were fasiq. Fasiq means disobedient, right? Not only were you arrogant, but you were disobedient. You did not obey, you did not see. This is all about gratitude. When you are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would be humble. Right? And knowing that these are rewards from Allah, these are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would want to, and you want to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in gratitude and in obedience lie gratitude. If you disobey Allah after He has given you a lot, then you are not grateful people. So this is what two things very critical. You are arrogant and you disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. This is present, future, present tense at that time. So this is that they were in hell, so they were told that they were arrogant and always disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People who become arrogant and conceited after being blessed with favors, they consume their quota of favors in this very world. And hereafter, they will be punished for not fulfilling their obligations towards these favors. Right? So we know whatever we are given in this world, we have and to account for how we manage and use the resources that we have blessed with, Allah has blessed us with. To be arrogant and conceited after being, that means you're lost and you feel that you are the one, you are great, you have all these things, no one can do anything to you, right? They have consumed whatever Allah has given them, and in the next world they don't have any. Punished for not fulfilling their obligations towards these favors. That means they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When everything is God-given, then showing pride is absolute foolishness and ignorance. And even greater foolishness is that a person uses the very favors blessed to him by Allah in disobeying him. That is great. Not only foolishness, but great ingratitude. Allah gives you all these good things and you use it against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like you went to Surah Al-An'am, where the pagans, right, used to allot some of their produce to Allah and some of their produce to their gods. And in doing so, they got some kind of system where they actually was unfair to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? In that sense, you know. So these are gifts from Allah, and yet they misappropriate these gifts by giving it to their gods other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their punishment will be of a type comparable to their deeds. They enjoyed themselves, were arrogant in their denial of the truth, and were involved in sinning and disobedience, punished in the hellfire. Thus, Allah punishes them with extreme humiliation, disgrace, severe pains, continued sorrow, and positions in the terrible depths of hellfire. You know, hellfire is very, very deep. Right? We'll talk about the sounds that come up from the hellfire, deep, right in the ground. All right, let's recite and recall. وَالَّذِينَ قَالَ لِوَالِدَيْهِ أُفٍّ لَكُمَا أَتَعِدَانِنِي أن أخرج وقد خلت القرون من قبلي وهما يستغيثان الله ويلك آمين إن وعد الله حق فيقول ما هذا إلا أساطير الأولين إنهم كانوا أولئك الذين حق عليهم القول في قد خلت من قبلهم من الجن والإنس إنهم كانوا خاسرين ولكل درجات مما عملوا وليوفيهم أعمالهم وهم لا يظلمون ويوم يعرض الذين كفروا على النار أذهبتم طيباتكم في حياتكم الدنيا واستمتعتم بها فاليوم تجزون عذاب الهون بما كنتم تستكبرون في الأرض بغير الحق وَبِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَفْسُقُونَ. All right, continue on with the next set. Bil ahqaf, by the winding sand tracks. All right, we'll see a further explanation of this word ahqaf, and this is the surah that we're talking about, Surah Al-Ahqaf. B is with or by. Lita'fikana. Li is so that. Ta is a you here. Root word is afaka here. Divert. Lita'fikana. Na is us, that you may divert us. Aridan, we have yu'radu just now. Aridan. The meaning changes to become a dense cloud. Aridan. Because it is in a sub-state here. And Audiyatihim, their valleys. Audiya from the wadi. Wadi means valley. Wadi. We've heard of wadis before, I suppose. All right. Audiyat is plural of wadi and valleys. Audiyatihim. All right. Bil ahqaf lita'fikana aridan audiyatihim. All right. Wadhkur, and recall. Dhakara is to remember, recall. Aha, adin. Aha, brother. Ad, brother of Ad, we know is an off structure because Aha doesn't have tanwin, and Adin is in its jar state. So brother of Ad, when Andara, but nadara is to warn. Andara, he warned, he caused to warn. This is af'ala structure. Anzara, he warned qawmahu, his people. Qauma is nasab because the people are being warned. Who is he? Qawmahu, his people, bil ahqaf, in the winding sand tracks, of the winding sand tracks. Of the sand dunes, different meanings there. All right, that's the word ahqaf. We'll look at it later on. Waqad, and surely, khalat is past. But khalat, this has passed, past tense here, because of the ta there, it passed, it female structure. And nudhur, the warner, has passed the warner. Right, nudhur here is a rafa, so it refers to this one, ta, because this one is it's a broken plural. So you consider it as a single female entity. That is why you have a ta here. And it's past tense with al-madi here. وَقَدْ خَلَتِ النُّذُرُ. It's supposed to be halat, but to continue on with this, with the shadda here, it went into kasra. وَقَدْ خَلَتِ النُّذُرُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ. مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ, from in front of him. Min is from baini yadai. Of course, strictly speaking, the meaning is baini is between your two hands, is in front of you, but has gone ahead of you also. Right, min baini yadaihi, of him. Wa min khalfihi, that's from behind him, that's coming from behind him. That means coming later. So gone ahead, this one has come later. Right, these are things which we understand from the sentence here. All right. وَاذْكُرْ أَخَا عَادٍ إِذْ أَنذَرَ قَوْمَهُ بِالْأَحْقَافِ وَقَدْ خَلَتِ النُّذُرُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ. Allah, that's two words, and that, la, not, that not, ta'budu, you worship. So this is in a nasab state because of the la being in a nasab. Huruf. Illa, except Allah. Not you worship, but Allah. So Allah is nasab here, the one that we worship. Inni, surely I, ahqafu, I fear. The alif is the I here, and this is mudari rafa. Ahqafu, I fear, alaykum, on you all, adhaba yawmin azim. So we can see here is adhaba. So he feared the adhab. So the adhab becomes nasab, but without a tanwin, we know it's an off structure. And yawmin azim is a descriptive form, which is, I call it sifah mausuf. Right? Azim is great, yawm is day, of a great day. That's how we translate Arabic here. Punishment of a great day. Illa ta'budu Allah ta'budu illallah. Inni akhafu alaykum adhaba yawmin azim. All right. And mention the brother of Ad. His mention, or his recall, right? Basically, try to remember. When he warned his people in the sandy plains, so you see the word ahqaf translated in sandy plains here. And indeed, warners came before him and after him. Right? You saw it before him, right? Before him, that means before he was, that means he has gone ahead of him. After him, khalfa, right, behind him, coming after later, saying, serve none but Allah, that means be a slave of none other but Allah. Surely I fear for you the punishment of the grievous day. All right. Wadhkur, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is instructing Rasulullah to recall or to remember the brother of Ad, Adin, brother of Ad, إِذْ أَنذَرَ قَوْمَهُ بِالْأَحْقَافِ, when he warned his people, right, of the sandy tracks. So they were in the sandy tracks. Allah says concerning his Prophet ﷺ in regard to the rejection of those who oppose him amongst people, we do understand this is the 11th year, and after the death of his wife and his uncle, and things are really going bad for him because they realized, the Quraysh realized that Islam, although not gaining more followers in Mecca, has actually gained a lot of followers outside of Mecca for the fact that people come to Mecca for the pilgrimage. And they met Rasulullah SAW and they converted, they embraced the teachings of Rasulullah SAW. So they are very fearful that Rasulullah would leave Mecca, because once he leaves, they will have no control of him. And they had news by that time, there were news already of the people of Medina inviting him over to Medina. So he was in a state of unhappiness. Right? He doesn't know when he will be asked to go anywhere. He's just left by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do his job. Right? The future to him is always unknown. As I said before, if I am to know the future, I can give good to myself, but I don't know what is in store for me. Right? That Allah has planned for him to go to Medina. He is not of his knowledge. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps consoling him, keeps reminding him of the realities of being a prophet or a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now he asks Rasulullah to recall a brother of Ad. He doesn't use the name Nabi Hud, and it is known it is Nabi Hud. He warned these people in the sandy tracts. Regard the rejection of those who oppose him among his people. So وَذْكُرْ أَخَا Adin, and recall brother of the Ad. This refers to Hud alayhi salam. Allah sent him to the first people of Ad who inhabited al-ahqaf. Ahqaf is a plural of haqaf, right? It means, according to Ibn Zayd, it means a sand dune. And according to Ikrimah, it means a mountain or a cave. So you can see there are various opinions of the use of the word ahqaf. Right? In different places, sometimes the same word actually have different meanings. So it is nothing for us to wonder why such different in meaning. Right? Sand dune, mountain, cave, right? Dunes are also like mountains, right? They are made of sand. And they have some caves in the middle of them. Allahu Alam. Anyway, Qatada said, we were informed that Ad was a tribe in Yemen. They dwelt among sand hills and overlooked the sea in a land called Ash-Shihr. So this is identified by the people of Quraysh. They are reminded of the Ad because the Quraysh in winter would go south, right? As we are aware, the Quraysh are business people and they need their wares. They get their wares from the north, Syria. In summer, they will go up. In winter, it's just too cold to go up north. So in winter, they actually would go south and get their wares from Yemen. Yemen is a thriving business area because if you look at the map, right, I mean, Aden, Mukalla, all these are towns, right, ports, which serve the African continent and also India. And they had quite good links with India and Pakistan and around the area. It's just there if you look at the map. So there were businesses there. There were lots of materials and things to buy from the people of Yemen. And also we saw this people of Sabah, very prosperous people, right, in their agriculture and businesses. Right. Under the chapter, he who supplicates should first mention himself, right? Ibn Majah recorded that Ibn Abbas narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Yarhamunallahu wa ahqaf. Yarhamuna, have mercy on us. May Allah have mercy on us and the brother of Ad. So may Allah have mercy on us and the brother of Ad. The brother of the Ad is the Prophet Hud alayhi salam, mentioned here by his position as a brother to his people. This highlights the relationship of mutual love and care that existed between him and his people, which should have made them more responsive to his call and motivated them to think well of him and what he taught. So Allah emphasized, doesn't mention his name, but emphasized the fact that he was a brother of Ad, which means that he loves them. Brothers usually love each other and care for each other. And they should realize his good and think him well and what he thought. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, all right. The same bond existed between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his people who similarly opposed him. He was a brother to they knew him, to the Quraysh, they knew him very well, they honored him, they trusted him, even after he became a prophet of Allah, right? And he announced his mission to them. Although they did not embrace him, in fact, they were very hostile towards him, but still they would entrust their belongings to him when they go on their business trips. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left Sayyidina Ali behind, right? When he migrated to Medina, we know the story of how Sayyidina Ali was placed on his bed, right? And while he and Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu left Mecca, to go to Medina, because Sayyidina Ali, he has entrusted Sayyidina Ali to give back whatever was entrusted to him by the people of Quraysh, by merchants of Quraysh. Lexicon says that the word ahqaf refers to a rectangular sand dunes. However, here it refers to the desert which stretches between Oman, Yemen, Najd, and Hadramaut. So all the way from Oman, there is a big stretch of desert there. If we go to Hadramaut, I mean, it's near Tarim. Tarim is in Hadramaut, and really, really amazing landscapes, desert rocks, sands, and all kinds of things. And it's called by the name Ahqaf. It is the original dwelling place of the people of Ad. By mentioning this place by its name, the Quran has directed attention to the great destruction that took place in this area. The name itself, right, is analogous to what happened to these people of Yemen. Right, as mentioned, the Quraysh are very aware of what happened to the people of Yemen. In fact, it is known that the Quran actually has references to the fact that as they go down to do businesses in Yemen, they would pass by the dwellings of Ad, and they could see the destruction of the dwellings and know what happened. And of course, there are stories of the people of Ad being destroyed because they rejected their prophet. So Allah asks people to recall the story of the brother of Ad. Obviously, the era in which the nation of Ad was at its peak in this area would be the time when this area would have been very green and lush and impregnated with those cultural feats which made the Ad very famous and powerful in history. Ad was supposed to be great, huge people, right? And from previous stories, we heard that, when Nabi Hud used to describe the beauties of Jannah, the king of Ad erected for himself beautiful garden that is Jannah. He is concerned, arrogantly saying, I don't need the Jannah of God, I have my own Jannah. And on the day when the place was completely built, right, completely decorated and everything, he went there to see it, and on his way there, he died. So that is a story of the king of Ad. So they were beautiful, as you can see. They're desert, but now they are desert. So it was not a desert at one time, but they were known for the beautiful places they had. However, now the area is no more than a desolate desert. So the word ahqaf reminds the Quraysh, this place which is now abandoned, which has sand dunes, used to be the house or the dwellings of Ad, which is beautiful, large, and full of greenery. Today is a vast windswept desert, and no one can dare go into its interior. In 1843, here's a little bit of a story. All right, AD, a Bavarian soldier was able to reach its southern edge. He says that if one looks down from the northern plateau of Hadramaut, one can see this desert about 1,000 feet in the depression. That means it is deep, it is sunken. The desert is below the plateau, deep down, 1,000 feet. Here and there in it, there are wide areas where if a thing falls, it goes on sinking into the sand and decays. This is what we call quicksand. The Arab Bedouins fear this land and are never willing to step into it at any cost. And they know the story of the land. In fact, Rasulullah SAW has advised us that whenever we reach places of disaster, we should move fast through it and not lag behind, because it is a cursed place. And likewise, when there's a place between, I think, Muzdalifah and Mina, where some of the our starts know that place, And when they walk from Muzdalifah to Mina during in Hajj, they would run, they would move very fast across this area. And this area is the area where the soldiers of Abraha was pelted by the birds. So it is a cursed place. Likewise, when Rasulullah went on his Tabuk expedition, right, they passed by Madain Saleh, which is the dwellings of the people of Nabi Saleh alayhi salam, and they actually took water from the well to make dough, and Rasulullah did not allow them to partake of it because this is a place of, it's a cursed place. So the Arab Bedouins were aware of that, and they would not ever dare step into it. So once when the Bedouins were not ready to take him there, he went by himself. Now, some of these people are very, very, I'm not sure whether they are being foolish or not, risking their lives, not believing in what the locals say. He says that the sand there is very fine powder, and when he threw a plummet into it from a distance, it sank into it within 5 minutes, and the end of the line to which it was attached also decayed. That is how terrible the place is, right? Imagine, let me see, he had something attached to a string, and he threw it, and then so he was doing an experiment basically, and he saw it fell deep in. Not only was it fall, the end of the string which he had was decayed, and when he pulled back the string, of course it decayed and it broke off, and the plummet was left in the soil. Nobody can imagine that this place was once inhabited and bustling with life. Seems that this place was named as ahqaf after the decline of the Ad, when in place of majestic structures, only sand dunes remain. Dangerous sand dunes for that matter. وَقَدْ حَالَتِ النُّذُرُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ. And surely has passed warners from in front of them. That means they have gone ahead of them, right? In front of your hands, they have gone ahead. That means they've passed you. They have heard of their stories of warners, and behind them, that means coming behind them. After them, warners will also come. So the Quraysh are warned, are reminded of the fact that warners are sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a mercy from Allah to remind people of the reality of their life. The warnings sounded by the Prophet ﷺ are nothing new. Warners have already come to territories in front of his and those behind it, and the signs of torment with which they had threatened people were also present there. So it seems that if this is the case, then we would believe that as they move around, right, forward towards Syria, they see all this destruction, right, on those people. Of course, we have the people of Madain Saleh, we've got the people of Shu'aib, we've got the people of Lut, right, and interestingly, right, when we go to Tarim, and those, I'm quite familiar with Tarim and been traveling. I've traveled from a 14-hour bus journey from Tarim all the way to Salalah in Oman. And the landscapes, we were told that they are actually due to the big flood of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam. So there's lots of erosion actually, and Tarim is actually below sea level. That is why the pressure actually in Tarim is quite high, and people do get sick quite often out of the pressure there. Because the lower you go, the higher, the more air is above you. That means more pressure on. Some people cannot handle the weather in Tarim, especially those who have got asthma and such. Very difficult. All right, so these are signs. That means that the landscape in itself reminds them of the people of Nuh alayhi salam. So they know, right? Behind them was probably, if you want to talk about behind as physically behind, that means just behind them. If they go behind, they will see all these places. They go forward, they will see all these places. Or as mentioned by the tafsir before, the translation before, that it's gone ahead of them and that will be coming behind. However, just as the earlier generations did not take heed from their respective warners, these later generations also did not benefit from the warnings of their warners. So they were warned, but they did not take heed. And the consequence of the warnings, right, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned about the Lut, the people of Lut, right, they were homosexuals, and their punishment was really, really bad. And Allah said, "Terrible rain And Allah says, terrible indeed is the reign of those warned. They've been warned and they disregarded the warnings. Allah ta'budu illallah. This is the main message. Right? Don't you be a slave except to Allah. Only be a slave to Allah. Do not be a slave to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ta'budu shaitan. Innahu lakum aduwwum mubin. Right? Did not I tell you, did not I made a covenant with you that you should not be a slave of the shaitan, that you should not obey him. That is what it means. So obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the real warning sounded by the Prophet Hud alayhi salam. Sorry, alayhi salam, not RTA. Sorry, so we changed it. So sleepy already. Alayhi salam to his people. That's it. It's the only message. Be a true slave of Allah. He asked them not to worship anyone other than Allah. So we know these people had many gods. It is evident from this that the real basis of evil is polytheism. That is why he zoomed into only be a slave of Allah. Don't submit to any others but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For this evil springs from this evil springs the branches of all other evils. For this very reason, the messengers of Allah have advised them against it and to dedicate their lives to being true slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? That is what it is. He is warning them against taking others as gods or giving partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and submitting to whatever rules and regulations that they have created, right, by their so-called obedience to their gods. Inni, surely I, so there's a stressing there, inni, surely I, ahqafu, I fear. Alaikum, on you, adhab yawmin azim, punishment of a great day. So as a brother, he is concerned for them, right? And this is one of his fears, is that they would be punished. And alaikum is emphasized, on you, is going to fall on you, right? The punishment of a great day. They care for their people, the prophets of God. They inform the people about it, the foremost, and have told them that if the people did not desist, they will become targets of Allah's grueling scourge. Right? So they are reminded. So here we can see two things that they are warned against. They are warned against taking others, right, besides Allah as gods, and also they are warned against a punishment that will be meted on them on a terrible day, on a very great day, the day of resurrection. Or not, if not the day of resurrection, the day they will be punished, right, for their insolence and their arrogance. Polytheism on this earth is no less than high treason against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is your creator and you give partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why in the Quran, Allah, when those people say this is Allah has a son, Allah says subhanallah. Allah continues that subhanallah. There's no way. He is all perfect. He is beyond needs. And to have a son is to have a need. To have a wife is to have a need. And we saw how they actually make jinns the wives of God, of Allah. Subhanallah. For this reason, the nation to which Allah conclusively delivers the truth is not granted a further respite if it does not abstain from it. So once the Prophet came, so it means that conclusively delivers the truth. That means the Prophet has come down and there is enough evidence that he is one of true nature. He is definitely a prophet of God. There is no doubt whatsoever that he is a prophet of God. Even Fir'aun knew and accepted Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam. Musa more, not so much Harun. Musa alayhi salam, because Musa alayhi salam was special because he's like a prince, right? As a prophet of God. But eventually he did say, I believe in the God of Musa and Harun, right? And he, during the various plagues that he went through, or the various trials that Egypt went through, right, he called onto Musa to dua to Musa's God. That's why it says that, Musa, Fir'aun is not as bad as Abu Jahl, because Abu Jahl just rejected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knowing very well that Rasulullah was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the Prophet comes, that's it, right? No further respite is granted. Qalu, they said, Ajitana, all right. Ji'a is a question, do. Ja'a is come. Ta is you, right? It's past tense here, fi'il madi. Do you come to us? The na is us. Do you come to us? Lita'fikana, so that you turn us. And the ta'fikana, some translations is so that you will deceive us or you will divert us. Sorry, look at the meaning of the word ta'fikana. We saw the word just now. An alihatina, an is from aliha, from the word ilahi is one, aliha, a lot. Our gods, so we know there are many gods here. Fa'tina, ata is to bring, fa is then, bring to us, bring us. Fa'tina, that is a fi'al madi, sorry, fi'al amr here. Bima, with what? Ta'iduna, ta'id is you, ta is a you, idu is to awada, actually, to threaten us or you warn us. In kunta, if you were minas sadiqin, of the truthful ones. They said, have you come to us to turn us away from our gods? Then bring us what you threaten us with if you are of the truthful ones. Qalu, so this is their response when Nabi Hud alayhi salam caringly remind them, right, to worship only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to remind them that is this great punishment and he is just fearful for them. He doesn't want them to be punished. That's what he means, right? So that is why he calls them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to leave their gods. Their reply is, do you come here to divert us or to turn us away from our gods? So that was the question, right? You are here to bring us away from our gods. Their response betrays mistrust, lack of understanding, arrogance, and a persistent adherence to false beliefs. So they didn't trust him, right? They don't believe in him, right? They don't understand what he's, or they just don't want to understand. Sometimes they do understand, but they just don't want to understand what he is talking about. Now, of course, the pride is there. Why should we submit to him? Who is he? And the people of Quraysh also, he's just an orphan. Why should we listen to him? He's of another tribe, which is more lowly than us. Why should we listen to him? And of course, insistence on continuing with their beliefs. The word ifkun, and this is the ta'fikana, and the word afaka is here. So it comes from ifkun, means to tell a lie. The preposition an, so this is the preposition here, an, after it shows that this word encompasses the meaning of another word, which means to cause someone to give up something or to cause someone to turn away from something. That is why we have the word from the gods, turn away from the gods here. Thus, they answered the Prophet Hud alayhi salam by exclaiming that he has come to them as a messenger to bluff them about his messengerhood, as well as about a punishment in order to turn them away from their gods. So this is what it means, right? They are saying that Nabi Hud alayhi salam is just making up this story of him being a messenger and this story of some punishment somewhere, right? Because the only reason he has was that he doesn't like them to worship their gods. So he is trying to get them away from worshiping their gods. And of course, in most of the nations that we have gone through with prophets, right? As they mentioned, they worship their gods because of their loyalty, right? Because they believe their forefathers cannot be wrong. And if their forefathers pray to the gods, then they should continue with the practice of their forefathers. Fa'tina bima ta'iduna, then bring on, right? Bring to us whatever you threaten us. They see it as a threat, not a warning. So when it's a threat, it might not be true. The threats are always not true. Warnings are true, right? You are being warned here. They don't see it as a warning, but they see it as a threat. They ask the threat to be brought forth. Hence, he should bring forth this doom he is threatening them with. Unless this demand is met, they will not regard him to be a true messenger. Right? Okay lah, fine enough. You say you're going to be punished. Bring the punishment. We are waiting for it. Arrogance here. In kunta minas sadiqin. This is always what they say. This if you were of the truth ones. This is one of the ways of the chiefs of the tribes, right, to denounce the messengers as liars, right? Because they say these things, but it never happened. They say resurrection, but we don't see anyone being brought back to life, right? We have gone through that also. And we saw how they say one back to life, because we know that they are either they just purposely try to twist the message, or they just don't seem to understand that this bringing back to life is at a certain day only, which only Allah knows. Right? وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَإِذَا هُمْ مِنَ الْأَجْدَاثِ إِلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَنْسِلُونَ قَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا مَنْ بَعَثَنَا مِنْ مَرْقَدِنَا هَذَا مَا وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَصَدَقَ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. So that verse, right, the verses from Surah Yasin, right, it tells people, reminds them that they are always saying, "In kuntum sadiqin." So Allah replied to them, "Ma wa'ada rahmanu," whatever your promise of your Rahman, wasadaqal, and is truthful, mursalun, the prophets of Allah, the messengers of Allah, to remind them, right? You have always, making fun of prophets as in kuntum sadiqin, if you are truthful. This is the truth. The day when the horn is blown, when you will come out of your graves running to your Rabb, and you will say, "Oh, ya wailana man ba'athana min marqadina." Oh, woe to us, oh, curse is us, who woke us up from our temporary graves. This is hada ma wa. This is what your Rabb has, the Ar-Rahman has promised you. Day of resurrection. So then this is how he can prove himself. This is how he can prove himself truthful. If you really are truthful, then bring on the punishment that you say is going to be meted on us. If there's no punishment coming, then he is definitely a liar trying to deceive them. Qala, he said, so he replied to them, "Innama, only that, ilmu, the knowledge, indallah, with Allah. Wa uballighukum, and I convey." I see the word baligh is to reach out. Tabligh, people who reaches out. People baligh, they reach their maturity. It's baligh. Who is I? So uballighu is fi'al mudari and rafa' state. Wa uballighukum, and I convey to you ma ursiltu bihi, what is sent down to me. Ursiltu, the two at the end is the I, not the alif at the beginning. And so we know it. So because the two exists, we know, because the root word is rasala. So what should there be a two? The two is I, and that makes it fi'l madi, a past tense. I was sent with it, by it, or by it. Okay. Qala innamal ilmu indallahi wa uballighukum ma ursiltu bihi walakinni, and but not I. Sorry, walakin, but I. Supposed to be walakin, but there's a ya, so it's but I. There's an I there. I missed that I. Sorry. And the ya is an I. But I, so it's an emphasis there. But I, arakum, I see you. The alif here is the I. Ra'aya is a root word here. Arakum, I see you. Qawman tajhalun, a people having ignorance. Again, the word tajhalun, tajhalun is fi'al mudari. That is why I'm not inclined to put a people ignorant, because then you can't feel that that the sense of it being a verb, a fi'al that is continuous. And tajhalun is a continuous verb. He said, the knowledge is only with Allah, and I deliver to you the message which I am sent, but I see you are a people who are ignorant. Qala innamal ilmu indallah, only that the knowledge is with Allah. So he goes back to say that I don't know when this punishment is to come. Only Allah knows about it. So this is what he was taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who knows when and under what circumstances a torment shall be brought forth, whose occurrence shall be irrelevant to their request. Whether they want it or not is immaterial. What is important is that Allah will decide when He will send down the punishment. The purpose is giving the ultimatum since divine wisdom requires the same. That's it, right? Allah told you already, and if you want to listen, you listen. If you don't want to listen, then you have yourself to blame. This means that he has no power to cause the punishment to descend. That means I myself have got no knowledge of it whatsoever. When it's going to come, how it's going to come, right? Only Allah who knows it. It's with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm just here to just pass you this message, whatever I am sent by it. So he sees reminding them that he is a prophet. He is sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a messenger who brings a message to them. So his job is only to pass the message. Ma ursiltu bihi, whatever I am sent by it, I am sent by it. He further adds that it is his duty to convey to them that wherewith he has been sent. It is his responsibility, but they are decided. They are to decide concerning obeying Allah, and it rests upon his will to bring torment upon them. So that is basically what it is that he's telling them, I don't know. I only tell you because I've been told to tell you. You want to accept it, you accept it. You don't want to accept it, it's up to you. It's your choice. But this is true. This is punishment from Allah. If you do not take Allah is the only God and obey him. Muhammad ﷺ receives all these with patience, showing the manners that behove of prophets. All the prophets are being taunted, they are being accused, they are being slandered, they are being tortured. Also, some of the prophets, right? And they bore it with patience, and they were very good at replying, right, to the people to make them understand, to try to make them understand that power lies in Allah, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He makes no personal claims as he outlines his attitude and makes his limits clear to them. This is what I am. I'm just a human being. My job is only to pass the message. When the punishment is going to come, you are asking for me to bring on the punishment. I'm sorry, I can't do that because it's not in my powers to do that. Right? So if you think I'm untruthful, so be it. Walakinni arakum qauman tajhalun. But I see you as a people that is arrogant. Ignorant. All right, is it? But so he's emphasizing here, this is what he sees. He sees you all as people who are tajhalun, who are jahil. Jahil people are people who do not heed warnings. People who are in a heedless state. People who doesn't understand the reality of God. That is what it is. And they do not use their intellect. Their intellect has served, if they use their intellect well, they would know that there is God who created everything. So however, he sees that they are people given to ignorance. This misfortune has its roots in their ignorance, and together with stubbornness and false pride impedes them from giving their ears to the messengers of God and makes them persist in requesting Allah to send down his torment upon them and cause their annihilation. So this is what it is, right? First, lack of knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or another way of looking at when you don't have much knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is when you allow your desires to get the better of your intellect. Because stubbornness, pride, all these prevents them from hearing. They hear, but they're not listening to the prophets, right? And so that is why they can come around to ask for the punishment to be brought forth on them, because they don't seem to understand the reality of what they're asking for. Had they been aware in the least, they would have thought about the realization of the threats. They don't realize the seriousness of the warnings and how dreadful is Allah's torment and how near at hand it might have approached because of their misdeeds. Sins bring about punishment. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ عَارِضًا مُسْتَقْبِلَ أَوْدِيَاتِهِمْ. Alright, فَلَمَّا, then when, fa is then, lama is when, ra'auhu, ra'a, but the wow here is There's a past tense fi'il madi here. They saw it, who it, aridan, a cloud. So a cloud, aridan, something really, really ominous, something really huge coming towards them. Mustaqbilan, for the word qabl is to turn, turning towards them. Audiyatihim, their valleys, turning towards, approaching their valleys. Qalu, they said, hadha, this, aridun, aridun, right? They saw the aridan because it is object, so it's nasab. But this, referring to the aridun, it is rafa. Mumtiruna, matar is rain, right? Bringing us rain. Mumtiruna, a bringer of rain for us. It's not a verb, it's not fi'il, but an ism here. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ عَارِضًا مُسْتَقْبِلَ أَوْدِيَتِهِمْ قَالُوا هَذَا عَارِضٌ مُمْطِرُونَ Bal, rather, huwa, it, mastajaltum, ma is what? Istajaltum, tum is past tense here. Ajil, ajil means to bring ahead, hasten. You were hastening. Right, past tense. Mastajaltum, you hasten, you asked to be hastened. Bihi, by it, or you sought to be hastened by it. Rihon, a wind. Fiha azabun alim. In it, the wind here, ha is referring to the wind. Azabun alim, a painful punishment. So the word alim, painful, alim, knowledgeable. So when they saw it as a cloud appearing in the sky, advancing towards their valley, they said, this is a cloud which will give us rain. Nay, it's what you sought to hasten on. A blast of wind in which is a painful punishment. Bal huwa mastajaltum bihi rihum fiha azabun alim. Falamma ra'awhu 'aridan mustaqbila awdiyatihim. So Allah then tells us, right, they saw a huge cloud moving towards their valley. Reports suggest that the earth suffered a period of intense heat coupled with absence of rain. They endured this unbearable climate for some time. And Allah sent them clouds, and they were delighted. And they said this. Allah depicts the scene at that time, and they said, this is a wind, a big cloud that brings rain for us. They went to the surrounding valleys hoping that rain would quickly ensue. They were sure the clouds would bring rain. Bal, rather, huwa mastajaltum bihi, it is what they have been asking to be hastened by it. That means this is the punishment, because they were asking, bring on the punishment. So Allah says, rather, this is the punishment, right, that they were asking for. Here, there is no indication as to who gave them this answer. And who said this? Nobody, there was nothing to say. But this is what Allah is telling them, right? However, the style shows explicitly that this was the answer they were given by the existing conditions. So from what has happened around them, right, this reply to them, right, they say the rain is coming, but in reality, it's not the rain, but a punishment on them. They thought that it was a cloud which was coming to give rain to their valleys, but in reality, it was a windstorm that was coming on to completely exterminate them. This is a universal fact that which the Quran is want to impress on people. The universe is alive, and every force in it is aware of what Allah wants of it, proceeding to fulfill it. Man is one of those forces. We are alive, and we are supposed to be aware of what is required of us. When he is a true believer, his heart becomes open to greater knowledge, and he becomes able to understand more of the universal forces around him and respond to them. This opens the way to mutual response that differs from what people generally know of life and understanding. This is what life is all about, is to respond to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His call. Everything around us has life, but we do not appreciate this because shapes and forms limit our understanding. The universe on us is full of secrets which are appreciated by faculties of understanding, even though they cannot be seen by our eyes. And those who know, we have, as Allah says, they are ulul albab, those who have deep understanding of things around. They see things and they know. Rihun fiha adabun alim. A wind in it, and the wind is punishment. Adabun alim. This delineate the nature of this punishment. It was a stormy wind that concealed the punishment. Had something else there. Comes later. We'll not be able to finish that. So we'll continue next lesson. Or we'll just go through the words first, as we always do, since we have a little bit of time. Tudammiru, tu is it, referring to the wind. Dammara is to destroy, it destroys. Fi'al mudari here. Kulla shay, everything. Bi amri rabbiha, by the command of its Rabb. It, ha, here referring to the wind. The wind has got an understanding that is going to destroy things because Allah commanded the wind and the wind obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Rabb of the wind. Fa'asbahu, then they became, past tense, sabaha is to become, or alif they, la, not yura is sin, illa masakinuhum, except their houses. Masakin is places of stay. From the word sakana, sakana is to be at peace and stay. Home is their houses. Tudammiru kulla shay'in bi amri rabbiha fa'asbahu la yura illa masakinuhum kadhalika, like that. Najzi, from the word jaza, we recompense. Al-qawmul mujrimin, qawm is people, mujrim is actually criminals, those who go against laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the disobeying people. Destroying everything by the command of his Rabb, so they became such that nothing could be seen except their dwellings. Thus to be a recompense, they guilty people. All right, let's stop. Allahumma arhamna bil Quran waj'alhu lana imaman wa nuran wa hudaw wa rahmah. Allahumma dhakkirna minhu ma nasina wa 'allimna minhu ma jahilna warzuqna tilawatahu آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين. اللهم استودعك ما علمتني فردده إلي وقت حاجتي إليه فلا تنسينيه يا رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا ربي فقهنا وفقه أهلنا وقرابات لنا في ديننا مع أهل القتر أنثى وذكر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلى الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. الحمد لله. الحمد